Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. And tonight we're going to begin chapter 5. So everybody, please open your books and recite along with us. Sri Devi Gita, Manmaya Sakti Sankliptam, Jagat Sarvam Characharam, Sapimataha Pritam Maya, Nasriva Parmartata, Yavahara Diksha Sisyam, Vidyamani Viditsutam, Tattva Drishvatu Nasrivam, Tatmevasti Kevalam, Saham Saram Jagat Sishtam, Tadanta Pravisam Yatam, Maya Kamanti Sakita, Ire Padapurasra, Lokantara Katir Noche, Katam Syaditi Hetuna, Yata Yata Bhageva, Maya Dekastata, Upadi Vedavime Naham, Yata Kashatikyo Yata, Uchadi Shadi Basuni, Pasyan Paskarasra, Nadushadi Tatevaham, Doshir Gita Kadapina, Mayi Budyadika Kritvam, Madhyavye Paprekjana, Padati Chatma Kamati, Vimura Menta Sudubadaya, Agana Vedastabhana, Ayaya Vedastada, Diveshwara Vipakascha, Kavido Maya Hevatu, Katakasha Mahakasha, Vipaka Kavito Yuta, Tateva Kavito Vedo, Jivatma Yapamatmano, Yata Jiva Bhagutham Chacha, Mahevacham Nachasvata, Tateshwara Bhagutham Mancha, Mayayana Sabhavata, Dehendriyati Sangrata, Vasana Vedvedita, Abhidya Jitvedasya, Heturnanya Prakirtita, Kunanam Vasana Veda, Vedaita Natyakaratra, Maya Sattvavedasya, Heturnanya Kadachana, Mayi Saramidam Protam, Otam Cha Dhamnitara, Ishwaroham cha Sudratma, Viratratma Ratasvicha, Brahmaham Vishnurudraucha, Gauri Brahmi cha Vaishnavi, Suryoham Tarakaschaham, Tarakishkastantahasmyaham, Pashupati Sururaham, Chandaloham Sataskaraham, Yadoham Krurakamaham, Sakramaham Mahajanam, Sripunam Satakaro, Yahami Bhagasantaya, Yachakinchit Vaji Vastu, Drishate Srujate Viva, Antarapakisha Tasarvam, Yakyaham Saradastita, Tatatasti Mayantakyam, Vasukinchitra, Yudasmi Jetatanyanam Sat, Tadaguro Paramita, Rajuvyata Satmamala, Viverika Vipati Chi, Tatevayisha Rubina Ripam, Yaham Natras Samsaya, Adishtana Kirikena, Kavikantana Pasade, Tasmanat Satsati Vaitat, Tatva Bhagat Yatha Himalaya Vacha, Yatha Vidasti Deviti, Samasyatma Rakustritam, Tatveva Drastumichami, Yadi Devi Kripamaki, Yasavacha, Iti Tasya Vacha Shrutva, Sarve Diva Savishnava, Nandantur Budi Dharmata, Pujayam Yascha Dharmacha, Adhati Bhagatanyatva, Bhakta Kamandu Kyasasva, Adashagyan Hitam Rupam, Chandrasuryo Chachini Disha Sotre Pachobida Anovayu Prakirtita Ishwar Vidaya Vidyahu Prithvi Jaganam Sritam Namastalam Napisaro Jyotisha Kramu Rastalam Maharukastu Grivasyad Jano Loko Mukam Sritam Taploko Viratastu Satyalokastadastita Indradayo Mahabasyu Shabdasrotramakesitu Nasato Nasras Nasaito Gando Pradnan Smito Budai Mukamatmi Smatyato Divaratri Chapakshmani Brahmastanam Bhubi Trivimbao Yapastalu Prakirtita Rasoji Vajasamatyatam Namo Damsta Prakirtitam Dandastayatala Yasya Astomaya Prakirtitam Sarkasva Moksha Syad Bridro Vosto Mekestitu Lobasyata Roshosya Dhamamakastu Prishtabu Pajapatisya Mure Mero Syad Yes, Ra Jagaditale Kukshi Samudra Girayos Stini Divya Vigesitu Nadyo Nadya Sabatyata Briksha Kesha Prakirtita Kumara Yovanajara Payosya Gati Ruttama Palaka Kastu Keshasu Sandhya Te Vasati Bibo Rajantri Jagadambayash Chandramastu Manasrita Jityam Vijana Saktistu Kari Rudrota Karinansrita Ashwati Jatika Sarva Shroni Deshe Sita Vivo Atarabi Diva Haroka Katyado Abhatan Gata Etadrisha Makarupam Tadrisu Sura Pumpa Dwalamala Sahasaryam Lelianam Chadivaya Nashtratatarabam Pamantam Manimaksidi Nananadaram Viram Ramashakro Nananchagat Sahasra Shirshanayanam Sahasra Charanantata Koti Suryavatikasham Vidyukoti Samaprabham Payankaram Mahagoram Ridaksham Dhastatraram Vidisuste Surasare Hahakaram Chachakrire Vikamkamana Pridayam Murchama Uduratayam Smaranam Chatakantesham Chakadam Vidam Vidyapi Atate Vyesvita Vidas Tatur Dikshu Matavivo Otayima Surat Yugram Muchato Muchitan Suran Adhate Dojamalam Yam Labda Chatsruti Mutman Prima Supurna Gayanam Ruda Kantas Pudisharam Vashpakan Gakatika Vacham Sotum Samupachakire Deva Muchu Aparadam Chamaswamba Agitinan Sadutmapam Kopam Sangara Devesi Sabaya Rupadarshana Katestita Pakadavya Pamare Nijre Riha Swaswapya Yagye Agya Yasare Batu Yavahat Yasya Sri Vikrama Kadarbhajya Manandam Katam Sarvaisha Yogave Namaste Uganeshani Namaste Pranavatmike Sarvavidanta Sanside Namo Ring Karamurtage Yasmadagni Smutpano Yasmad Sugyasya Chandrama Yasmad Doshata Yasavas Tasmai Sarvatmane Nama Yasmacha Deva Sambuddha Sadhya Pachina Devacha Pashavascha Munistuscha Tasmai Sarvatmane Namaha Pranapana Viri Vaho Samhita Sapta Kevacha Homa Sapta Tattalukas Tasmai Sarvatmane Namah Yasmat Samudrantiraya Sindhava Pracharanti Cha Yasmat Ushat Kasama Rasastasmai Namo Namah Yasmat Gatyat Nuputo Diksha Yupasya Prashida Rito Endratushi Samani Tasmai Sarvatmane Namah Namah Prastat Prishtecha Namaste Parshyodayo Adat Vidvan Chaturdikshu Matur Bhujyo Namo Namah Upasangara Deveshi Rupamita Lokikam Tadeva Darshikasmakam Rupam Sundara Sundaram Yasuvacha Iti Itam Sadaran and Vishwa Jagadamba Viparnava Samritya Rupangorantam Darshayamasta Sundaram Hasham Kusharaviti Dharam Sarvanga Komalam Karuna Purnanayanam Mundasmi Amina Tadmukam Pujam Drishvatat Sundaram Rupam Tada Viti Viparjita Shanta Chita Dhamprani Bhuste Harshad Gata Nisvana Om. Let's return to the beginning of chapter 5 and we'll translate and then we'll discuss. And the goddess said, my Maya Shakti creates this entire universe with objects moving and unmoving. So things that do move and things that are stationary all come from me. That's all part of my Maya. And that Maya is the measurement of existence. And that Maya is the definition of the existence. And that Maya is the illusion of the existence. This Maya is conceived in me. In reality, it is not different or separate from me. So any particular individual object that we perceive, we are perceiving it within the totality of mind. But it's not different or separate from her. We, from our illusion, think that it's separate. It's different. This is one object and that's another object. This is a third object and there's a fourth. But in reality, it's all part of the one Maya. Judging by the perceptions of behavior is called vidya, knowledge, or Maya, illusion. But perceiving from the reality of the Supreme Principle, in truth, only one Supreme Principle exists. So as we are behaving, we think that, I know about this form and that form, and the rest is an illusion to me. So it's either true or false, it's either appropriate knowledge or inappropriate knowledge. But in truth, when we look at it from the perception of the Supreme Principle, there is only one supreme existence, and that is Maya. So we are labeling parts of the Maya and thinking that to be knowledge from our perception. Whereas from her perception, it's all Maya. There is only one Maya. This is I, the entire perceivable creation and dissolution as well. This whole transformation, Aim, Ring, Kling, Chamundaki, Vichai, this is I. O mountain, remember that mother is explaining this to the Himalayas, to Parvat, who is about to become the father of Parvati. O mountain, united with Maya and the various actions, I enter within as the life force. So here I am Maya, and I've defined individual forms within the Maya, and I enter in to those individual forms as the life force. If I did not reside within all beings as a substance called as consciousness, how shall we describe consciousness, continuous becoming, and the various distinctions of Maya? Oh, here she's saying, my chit shakti and my chit is one. You cannot distinguish. You cannot have Shiva without Shakti. If chit means consciousness, my energy of consciousness is one with consciousness. So I am consciousness and I am nature as well. And if I did not exist within every existence, every form of existence as consciousness, then how can you distinguish between one form of Maya and another form of Maya? From whence comes this illusion? Were there no consciousness of varieties? I appear to be many because of the distinctions in attributes. These upadhis appear to be different. These differentiate between limited space and unlimited space. Now remember, we called the space within the pot Gata Akash. It's limited by the pot. And outside we call it Maha Akash, the great unlimited space. Now what is the difference between the space inside the pot and the space outside the pot? Only the definition. Pot. The contained space is of the same quality as the uncontained space. So these differentiate between limited space, contained space, and unlimited space. Objects which are high or low, or the illuminator from the illuminated. So here we have all of these various distinctions because of the attributes that we are perceiving because of her existence as consciousness. I am not the performer of evil, nor am I ever connected with any fault or error. People ascribe buddhi, intelligence, and other attributes of activity to me. They try to describe my activities, and they apply their opinions as though they were in the reality of my nature. They say that the soul is the performer of action. I get it. This is thought by the foolish and not the wise. Thus, the ignorance of duality creates two distinctions in Maya. Jiva and Ishvara are the two divisions conceived in Maya, just as contained or enclosed space is distinguished from unlimited space. So here we have Jiva as the contained soul and Ishvara as the unlimited soul, the infinite soul. In reality, the qualities are the same as the contained space and the unlimited space. In the same way, the individual souls are conceived as separate from the Supreme Soul, and the individual souls are thought to be many. Well, Maya is one with its own self. So in Maya, consciousness, energy are all one. There aren't all these different souls. From the point of view of Maya, there's only one soul. The Supreme Soul, the embodiment of the One. There cannot be many Ishwaras because this is not within the intrinsic nature of Maya. There is only one Supreme Divinity. How can there be many Supreme Divinities? Differences only exist in bodies, organs, and various attributes. Now, if you don't have a body, and if you don't have any organs, you have no attributes, no qualities, you're nirguna. How can there be many in nirguna? There is one, continuous, chirasthai, no infinite existence. Ignorance is the cause of the apparent differences in jivas and nothing else. I am not different from any other object in this room. Only I think myself to be, and that's the ignorance of my egotistical attachment. my ego says, I'm different. And therefore, you must be different as well. The variations in the three gunas, the qualities of nature, and the distinctions in their intrinsic nature support the world. Everything in existence is permeated by the three gunas. It's the substratum of the world, of all existence. Maya is the supreme, indivisible existence, and this is the Maya Vedanta. You see how she's weaving her discourse between the Maya of Shankya, the Maya of illusion, the Maya of Tantra, the Maya of definition. This is the one, and we are the many. And the many are in relationship with the one, and the one is in relationship with the many. And now, the Maya of Vedanta. The Maya is the supreme, indivisible existence, and certainly there is no other. All existence is interwoven in me, and I support all that is supported. I am Ishwar in the causal body. I am the Sutratma in the subtle body. And I am Virat in the gross body. I am Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. I am their partners, Gauri, Brahmi, and Vaishnavi. I am all. Because Maya is one with consciousness. Shiva and Shakti are one. They're not two. That's the Maya of illusion. I am the sun, and I am the moon. I am the stars, and I am the intrinsic nature of beasts, birds, chandalas, and even I am the thief. I am the hunter, the performer of cruel actions. I am the performer of harmonious and truthful actions. I am the virtuous great souls. I am the female, the male, and the one of no sex. Of this there is no doubt. They're all born in Maya. They are all measurements of the one in imperishable existence. Whatever exists, anything that can be seen or heard, I am present there, both within and without, just like the pot, like the space in the container. Just like the space in the container, I am there, both within and without, in every individual phenomenon of existence. There I eternally reside. There is nothing in existence, whether moving or unmoving, that can exist without me. This Havan Kun, this cement, is comprised of the Divine Mother. And were she not present here, in this unmoving, immobile object, it would have no existence, nor would we be able to perceive it. If one were to postulate the perception of such an existence, it is like the son of a barren woman. It's a logical fallacy and a total impossibility. How can a barren woman have a son? How can creation exist without me? The same lack of logic applies to both circumstances. Just as a rope may be mistaken for a coiled snake, that's Shankaracharya's parable. He saw the coiled rope and thought it might be a snake ready to strike, and fear immediately grasped him. In the same way, I appear in various forms as the ruler of all and others. Of this there is no doubt. It's an illusion. The rope wasn't a snake. My fear was unfounded. As soon as I learned and examined closer, it's not a snake, it's just a coiled rope. Then all the fear vanished immediately. And in the same way, as soon as I remember that it's she, it is the Divine Mother in the form of all existence, then the duality ceases to bind me and I become one in the lap of Mother. Existence cannot be conceived without a substratum. Something has to support existence. And my being is the substratum of all. There can be no other. The Himalaya said, O Supreme Ruler of the Gods, you speak of the universal soul of existence. O Goddess, if you would show me your grace, I desire to see this. Do you remember chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita? When Arjuna said, hey, Krishna, you're talking about this infinite creation. Can I see it? Himalaya said the same thing to the Divine Mother. And hearing these words of request, Vishnu and all the other gods agreed with him with great felicity. So there was Vishnu and Brahma and Shiva and all the gods and all the goddesses. Hey, that's a great idea. Show it to us, Mom. Please, show yourself. Rupam Devi, Jayam Devi, Yashodevi, Vishodhi. Please, let us see it. Then the goddess of goodness, who is like a milk cow to fulfill the desires of devotees, knowing the wish of the gods, showed her own imperceivable form in order to fulfill the desires of their devotion. They saw the great goddess in the highest and greatest perceivable form, Virat, humongous, the most infinite form that can be perceived. Heaven is her head, and the sun and the moon are her eyes. The directions are her ears, and the Vedas are her words, and the wind is known as her breath. The universe is her heart, and the earth is the lowest part of her legs and calves. The atmosphere is her navel, and the circles of light or asterisms are her thighs. The Maharlok, the fourth level of consciousness, Bhur-Bhuva Swamaha. The Maharlok, the fourth level of consciousness known as the cosmic or infinite perceivable existence. All that can be perceived in the existence is her neck. And the Janalok, the fifth level of consciousness, is known as the infinite body of knowledge. All that can be known. Mahar is all that can be perceived. Jana is all that can be known, is her face. And when you look at that face, that's all you need to know. That's all that can be known. The Tapalok, the sixth level of consciousness known as the infinite body of light, is her forehead. Situated just below the Satyalok, the seventh level of consciousness known as the infinite body of truth, otherwise called Satchit Ananda, true existence, consciousness, and bliss. Indra is in her two arms, and the sound is in the ear of the great ruler of all. The Ashwin twins, the Natsatrajasro, are situated in her nose, and scent is remembered as the knowledge of the organ of smell. Fire is in her mouth, and day and night are like her two wings. Brahma is situated in her eyebrows. Water is famous on her palate. Nectar is on her tongue, and Yum, the god of death, also he who controls, is famous as her large teeth. Love is in her teeth. Maya is in her smile. The entire creation is in her side glances, along with liberation. And modesty is on her upper lip. Gain is on her lower lip. The path of ideal action is at her back. Prajapati, the Lord of all beings born, is at her organ of generation and the creator of the perceivable universe. The oceans are her hips. The mountains are her bones. The rivers are her veins. The trees are the hairs of her body. Childhood, youth, and old age are her best positions. Clouds are her handsome hair. The two junctions between day and night shine forth as her clothing. She's adorned by the times of prayer. O king, the moon is remembered as the mind of the mother of the three worlds. Her mind is filled with devotion. Hori, which is Vishnu. And remember, Ha means the gross body, Ra means the subtle body, E means the causal body. Hori, he who embodies the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body, is her Vijnana Shakti, the power of applied knowledge. He uses his knowledge. And Rudra, Shiva, is remembered as the ultimate cause. Horses and all the other animals are situated in her hips, and the great lower regions such as Atal, etc., are the regions from her waist downwards. Remember, there's 7 upper levels and 7 lower levels. The gods became paralyzed upon beholding this great form. She was wearing a garland consisting of thousands of rays of light. Her tongue was hanging out, exposing her sharp, gleaming teeth. Fire filled her eyes as she held various weapons in her hands like a great warrior, overpowering even Brahmins and Kshatriyas. She has 1,000 heads, thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet as well. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaka Sahasra Sahasrapat. She radiates the illumination of 10 million suns and 10 million flashes of lightning. When the gods beheld that terrifying appearance, their hearts were agitated and they began to utter cries of consternation. What have we asked for? Their hearts trembled and they became unconscious. The memory fled from them that this is the mother of the perceivable universe. They forgot. They got so overwhelmed and overpowered by this vision of the immensity of this vision that they forgot we asked to see the divine form of the infinite mother. Then the Vedas filled the 4 directions with their great manifestation, bestowing knowledge upon the gods. From unconsciousness they were made conscious. Please bestow knowledge upon the sadhus, and from unconsciousness make us conscious. Then the entire heavens were filled with the excellent sounds of worship, performed with the tears of love completely filling their eyes and their throats choked with feelings. With streams of tears flowing, those voices uttered songs of praise, and the gods said, O Mother, forgive all our faults and protect those in distress, for all have been born from you. Withdraw your anger, O Supreme of the gods. We are filled with fear to see this form. How can we sing praises to you when even you yourself cannot measure your limits? You don't know how big you are. Only your own self has knowledge of how much is this force of transformation. What words of praise can be spoken by those who have manifested from you? We're such insignificant little guys. How can we even begin to describe even a small portion of you? We bow down to you, Supreme of existence. We bow down to you, the soul of the Pranad Om. You are the one who is the perfection of Vedanta. Remember, Vedanta, the ultimate of wisdom. Vedanta, you are the perfection of the ultimate of wisdom. dream, all of Maya. From whence fire has its origins, as well as the sun and the moon. From whence arises all vegetation. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. These verses come in the Bhagavad Gita. They also come in the Bhishma Shtavaraj. Tasmai Sarvatmane Namaha is the refrain. Tasmai Sarvatmane Namaha, from whence all the gods have taken birth, all divine or celestial beings, birds, beasts, and men. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. Tasmai, therefore, Sarvatma, Atmane, to the soul of the universe of all. Namaha, we bow. The vital breaths, prana and apana, grains of rice and barley, purifying austerities, faith, truth, sacred studies, and the rules of conduct. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. From whence originate the 7 forms of life, the 7 kinds of offerings, the 7 sacred fires, the 7 lokas or planes of existence. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. From whence come forth the oceans, the mountains, the rivers, all vegetation, and the tastes of all things. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. From whence originates sacrifice, diksha, initiation, obstructions, offerings of respect to teachers and gurus, the Rig, the Yajur, and the Samavedas. Therefore, we bow down to the universal soul of all. We bow down to your front and to your back. We bow down to both of your sides, above and below, in all 4 directions. Mother of the universe, we bow, we bow. O Supreme of the gods, please withdraw this incomparable, infinite form and show us the form most beautiful among the beautiful, just like you are. Vyasa. Thus saying that the gods were filled with alarm, the mother of the universe, the ocean of grace, withdrew her fearful form and showed a most beautiful appearance. Just see her standing there, blessing the universe. In her two of her hands, he held a noose, or an implement of bondage, often a snake. It's that net, noose, or nagpash. And a goad, often a curved sword, or ankush, like the Kali has that curved sword in her hands. Also, the goad like Ganesh has to prod his elephant, like behavior. The other 2 hands showed the mudras to grant boons and to dispel all fear. Her body was soft and gentle. Her eyes were filled with kindness. Her face was adorned with a beautiful smile. Seeing that beautiful form, all distress was removed. With all consciousness filled with peace, the gods bowed down to her with great delight. Om. We could just sit the rest of the evening in her presence, unless anyone has any questions. Yes, Terence.
I have a question about Maya, Swamiji.
Yes.
You've defined the 3 types of Maya.
Yes.
The Maya of Sankhya, Tantra, and Vedanta.
Yes.
In the first form, the many see the many.
Yes.
And in the second, the one sees the many, and vice versa.
Yes.
Are these 2 stages in the seeker's sadhana? In other words, does the seeker progress from seeing everything as different forms and then seeing everything as the form of the Divine Mother?
Absolutely. You yourself have experience being out in the world and being part of the many, seeing the many. And there were so many to see. And suddenly, you got an inspiration. You came inside the Devi Mandir and sat in front of the one. And you were still part of the many looking at the one. And then your perception got deeper and deeper, and you saw that she is the one looking at the many. This is the stages of evolution that every seeker will go through. And when we actually merge with her, we become the one in harmony with her own self. The Divine Mother, who is also the Divine Father, who is Shiva, who is Shakti, who is nature, who is consciousness. She is Chit and Chit Shakti, and you cannot distinguish where the energy leaves off and the consciousness begins. They are indistinguishable because they're one. And all this one is part of her. So those are the three definitions for the stages of Maya. And every seeker will pass through all the three stages. And oftentimes, many times a day.
Swamiji, when you talked about the pot and the space within and space outside.
Yes.
And then in verse 4, you just said about Chit, Shakti and Chit.
Yes.
And Jiva and Ishvara. Is it but the space outside is much larger than the space within. I've heard people talk about the ocean and the waves. The Jivatma is the wave and Ishvara is the ocean. Are we talking in the same way here?
Yes, these are all similar analogies which will try to describe what is the relationship between an individual and the universal. So the universal is like the space outside the container, where the individual is the space which is inside the container. And what is the difference in the space? The space is the same. It's the absence of something. So therefore, the space inside is the same as the space outside. The soul inside is the same as the Supreme Soul outside. The consciousness inside is the same as the consciousness outside.
Swamiji, the nature seems like the nature character is the same, but the consciousness outside is much bigger.
We just define it as being bigger because actually it's the same as the spaces within the container. But were there no container, then there would be no distinction. The container is what gives rise to this thought of distinction, of difference. And in actuality, there is no difference. There is no distinction. She appears to be different because of the appearance of attributes. And we say the space in here is contained by all of this brass. Whereas the space outside is not contained by anything. So we're talking about the attributes are different, but not the space. Are there other questions?
Swamiji, there's a question from Michael from Colorado.
Namaste, Michael. Namaste, Karen.
If Maya is one, then what is the role of the individual's ideal of perfection? How does one's ideal of perfection impact the greater universe?
As we strive for perfection, Michael, each in our own ways, we come closer and closer to touching her perfection. Obviously, it's the nature that has led us to define our perfection in the ways that we do. So we are perfecting her nature, and that is our alignment or attunement with her nature brings us to a feeling of success in reaching our own perfection. It isn't in reality our perfection, it is something that she wants done and using us as the tool. And that's how we have defined it.
Swamiji, question from Nanda from San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
In verse 2, Swamiji, can you please explain why knowledge is defined as vidya here? I would have thought the opposite of illusion would be wisdom, that is jnana. Can you please explain? Thank you.
Because knowledge is the appropriate apprehension of a correct fact, whereas illusion is the inappropriate apprehension of an incorrect fact. It's an illusion, it isn't true. Knowledge is true. So she says, from judging by behavior, when you look at the way the attributes are interacting with each other, you can say this is knowledge, this is appropriate, and it is a correct apprehension of a true fact, or it's illusion, or it's the inappropriate application of something that is not true, depending on your point of view. So that's her distinction. Now, wisdom is something different, because wisdom is the application of that truth to circumstance. Wisdom is knowledge being used for the appropriate result in order to create a greater harmony between the individual and the universal. And that's wisdom. So here she says, when we behave, we either behave according to knowledge or we behave according to illusion. Those are the two choices. Take your choice.
Swamiji, Kumari from Vallejo has a question. She's asking, was Maya the first cause of creation, or was there a prior cause?
Namaste, Kumari Ma. We just discussed in our preceding chapter that both the instrumental and the material causes were required. We called consciousness the efficient cause or the instrumental cause, and we called nature or Maya the material cause. But here in this chapter, she says there's no difference. Therefore, she contains both causes within herself as consciousness and Maya. So yes, she is the primary cause.
Question from Parvati from Sacramento.
Namaste, Parvati Ma.
On verse 5, the soul is the performer of action that is thought by the foolish and not the wise. That sounds the opposite of verse 15. What is the definition of the soul in verse 5?
I don't see the use of the word soul in verse 5.
It's verse 7, Swami.
In verse 7. Okay. Yes. In verse 7, they say that the soul is the performer of action. They say. Now, they're speaking as the individual soul in verse 7. And in verse 15, they're saying, she is saying, actually it is me. I am the supreme soul. And I am the actor. And so in verse 7, they're talking about I being individual, the jiva, and in verse 15, they're talking about I being Ishvara. Ishvara is the actor.
Swamiji, Kumari is asking, why does mother assume a fearful form?
Her form is most ferocious if you looked at her infinite form. You see, Krishna himself assumed a fearful form. Arjuna was trembling. And again, when you try to perceive the expanse of infinity, it's terrifying. There's no limit. Where do you focus your perception? And that's why it's so terrifying. If she embodies all, and you try to focus on all at the same time, it boggles your imagination. It's absolutely terrifying. I can't focus on everything at once. please assume your beloved form with 4 arms or 18 arms. I can handle that. But this Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, how can I look at your 1,000 heads, your 1,000 arms, your 1,000 feet? I can't see it all. I need a finite form of which to perceive. That's why it's terrifying.
And Swamiji Marsha from LA is asking, is the mother's gentle form described in verse 55 called Rajarajeshwari?
She is called by many names, but yes, Rajarajeshwari would be a very appropriate name. Also, she could be called as Lolita. She could also be called as Jagadamba. She could be called by many names according to the way that you wish. Rajarajeshwari is totally appropriate.
And Swamiji Rolf from Mountain View has a question.
Yes, Rolf, namaste.
Can Swamiji please explain the word Virat in verse 5, in chapter, I think it's chapter 5 or 13, verse 13.
Yes, in verse 13 of chapter 5.
She's called Virat in the gross body. In verse 23, they saw her in the highest and greatest perceivable form, Virat.
Yes, now Virat is the infinite that can be perceived. It is the gross body, so it can be perceived. In the subtle body, she is the Sutratma. The Sutra, the subtle Atma, the subtle soul, which can be conceived. And in the gross body, in the causal body, she is Ishvara, which is beyond perception. You can only intuit. You can know her through intuitive understanding, through meditation. So Virat in verse 13 and Virat in what was the other verse that you asked about? It was where they saw her and she was Virat. What?
Verse 23 something.
23. That Virat is also the greatest perceivable form that can be perceived is Virat. So the other 2 bodies can only be conceived or known through intuition.
Swamiji Kumari is asking, what is the significance of mother's tongue hanging out in verse 36?
Well, remember when her tongue hung out in chapter 8 of the Chandi, she drank up all the seeds of desire. Here her tongue is hanging out. She's expressing herself as the savior from all iniquity, from all desire, from all that is inappropriate behavior. She's going to drink up those seeds of desire, and that's why she sticks out her tongue.
Swamiji, a question from Angel.
Yes, Angel?
She wants to know if it's okay to use Rudraksha Mala rather than Pearl Mala for her Saraswati Puja practices.
Yes, Angel, in our tradition, you can use Rudraksha for all japa. There is no necessity to have a separate kind of mala for each deity. So you can have just one Rudraksha mala, and you can use that for all the goddesses and all the gods as well. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.